I'm Katrina Goldby, and I served with the U.S. Army Reserve. I joined in 1991 during Desert Storm, served in a medical unit, reserve unit, for the first, 9 years, and pretty much the only place I went was San Antonio, and transferred into a civil affairs unit in 2000. And then in 2001, of course, 9/11 occurred. After that happened, we started pre-deployment training. We didn't know where we were going until we had been at Fort Bragg for a couple of weeks. And then someone saw that it had already been labeled on our vehicles that we were going to Iraq. So that was how we found out where we were going. And the only other thing we knew was that our orders were written as for the length of time, undetermined, but not to exceed 2 years. A lot of people, even in the Army, don't know what civil affairs is, but we work as liaisons between the host country government, our own government and military, and other non-governmental organizations, the UN. We get to spend a lot of time out in the communities in Iraq and get to know the Iraqi people. Our initial objective was to return their city back to a pre-deployment state, which was basically restoring electricity, running water, roofs over their heads if they had been displaced. And then after that, it was to upgrade things because the healthcare in the area, they had state-of-the-art capabilities, but it was extremely limited as to who was able to access that. It was pretty much Saddam's circle that had access to that. The regular people had about a 1950s, 1960s level of care. My unit was 10% female. It was a special ops unit. Often we were in smaller teams and there may only be one female on the team. We prided ourselves on being able to do whatever the men could do, live in the same conditions and not require anything different or special. From my perspective, I had some real advantages being over in a Muslim country as a woman because their women don't hold the same status. But the Iraqis are very adaptable, and they came to realize very, very quickly that as an Army officer, I did hold the same status as a male Army officer of the same rank, and they learned quickly to work with me because, there were times that I was the person assigned to help them. We were frequently invited to feasts, and there was a particular sheikh that I did a lot of work with, and I was always an honored guest along with my team. Sometimes other sheikhs that were there were very uncomfortable with that, but their perspective changed, and they realized that I was doing the same job as the men. But where I had the advantage was that I also had access to speak to the women. And our male soldiers absolutely could not do that. That was extremely disrespectful for them to even make eye contact with the Iraqi women. I could go sit with them and talk to them and find out what was going on with them and what their needs were. Military sexual trauma, it is a prevalent problem because of the living situations and things. I had a commander in Iraq that tried to break down my door a couple of times in the night. He was drunk, and when I reported it, I was just told, well, nothing's going to be done. And it wasn't, when the person I was reporting it to would love to have seen something get done, but it was higher levels. And what got done was he got promoted and moved out where he was no longer really directly supervising a unit. And I have no issues from what happened because I was able to deal with it myself and I handled it, but how it was handled, by the military, and specifically one particular leader who has climbed very high on the ladder since then, so I won't mention the name, but, it's just wrong. I can't even think of anyone in my unit when we redeployed and came home that wasn't having adjustment issues. This was early 2004. But there were no reintegration programs. They did a really quick check for PTSD. Well, PTSD doesn't kick in that fast. And military sexual trauma wasn't really talked about much, so that we weren't being assessed for that. And like I said, there were just no reintegration programs. I was in my last semester of law school when I deployed, and I came back and my class had graduated a year and a half before, and I felt very displaced. I finished, but I'd lost my desire for that career path and never did practice law. Now, when a unit returns, there's someone from the VA there to meet them and to talk to them and let them know what their benefits are. I just had Other members of my unit that were maybe veterans from Desert Storm or something, or even some that were from Vietnam, saying, the first thing you need to go do is get enrolled at the VA. Otherwise, I wouldn't have even known that. The VA wasn't ready yet for that, and now they are, very much so. There are reintegration programs and homeless programs, PTSD programs, MST. Things are in place, and the issues are being addressed early.